way you think decides how far you go. If your mind isn't trained, your life stays stuck. That's the truth. Millionaires don't just wake up successful. They think in a way that moves them forward, every day, no matter what. They know how to block out the noise, cut through stress, and stay focused when most people quit. They don't wait until they feel good. They act with discipline. They've trained their minds to lead, not follow. Now ask yourself, what kind of thoughts are running your life right now? Are they pushing you forward or holding you back? Are you in control, or are you stuck in your head? This isn't about being perfect. It's about taking charge of how you think, so you can take charge of how you live. In this, you're going to learn how to train your mind like a millionaire, with habits, mindset shifts, and real strategies you can use right now. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Train your mind to think like a winner. The mind is not your enemy, but it can be if you leave it untrained. And the people who win in life, the ones who build something remarkable, they don't just stumble into it. They don't just get lucky. They think in a very different way. They think with structure, with intention, and with responsibility. That's what separates them. That's what makes them powerful. The way you think determines how you live. Most people never understand this because they spend all their time reacting to life instead of building a life. They wake up and the first thing they check is their phone. They allow other people's opinions, messages, and chaos to set the tone for the day. They feed their minds everything but discipline, everything but clarity, and they wonder why they feel lost, why they feel stuck, why they don't feel like they're in control. If you want to win, if you want to build something that lasts, you have to train your mind to think in a new way. You have to train it like a winner would. That means you stop entertaining thoughts that pull you backwards. That means you stop feeding your doubts and start feeding your discipline. It's not about pretending to be positive all the time. It's about building a system of thinking that actually helps you move forward. No matter what you're going through, winners think differently. When they fail, they don't call themselves a failure. They don't blame the world. They ask, what did I miss? What can I fix? What's the next step? Their thinking is not emotional, it's structured. They don't act out of mood, they act out of mission. You don't train your mind to feel good all the time. You train your mind to stay locked in on what matters even when you feel weak. You see, your mind will believe whatever you tell it. If you constantly tell yourself you're not ready, that you're not good enough, that life's too hard, your mind will make that your reality. It won't fight back. It will just follow the instructions. But if you start giving your mind new orders, clear, strong, repeated instructions, it will shift. That shift won't come in a day, but it will come. And it will be permanent if you keep doing the work. Start paying attention to the thoughts that run through your head every day. Are they helping you or holding you back? Are they making you stronger or making you smaller? Most people let any thought live in their mind without question. But would you let any stranger walk into your home and stay there? Then why do you let weak, negative, powerless thoughts live rent-free in your head? You train your mind by choosing what to think. Every single time you feel fear, you can choose courage. Every time you feel doubt, you can choose action. Every time you feel overwhelmed, you can slow down, breathe, and pick one thing to handle. These are not tricks. These are choices. And when you make those choices daily, your mind starts to shift. Train your mind to focus on what you can control. That's what winners do. They don't waste time blaming others or wishing things were different. They use every ounce of their attention on what they can fix, what they can build, and how they can grow. They don't care about being right, they care about getting better. They don't care about attention, they care about results. That's a trained mind. A trained mind doesn't chase comfort, it chases growth. Some days you won't feel like doing it. That's normal. Some days you'll want to complain, to slow down, to take it easy, but those are the days that matter the most. That's when your training shows up. That's when you find out how strong your thinking really is. You don't build a winner's mind on easy days. You build it when it's hard, and you do it anyway. That's where the power comes from. You also need to stop talking to yourself like someone who loses. Too many people say things to themselves they would never say to a friend. They beat themselves up, they call themselves names, they talk down to themselves, and they expect to feel confident. Confidence isn't something you find. It's something you build by the way you think, the way you act, and the way you treat yourself. You want to think like a millionaire? Then start acting like your time matters. Start acting like your focus matters. Start acting like your energy is precious. Stop wasting it on distractions, drama, and people who drain you. Stop wasting it on opinions that don't pay your bills. A winner's mind is a disciplined mind. It knows how to say no. It knows how to protect its focus. And it knows when to walk away from things that waste its potential. You train your mind every single day with your habits. The moment you wake up, the way you speak to yourself, the way you move, the way you choose what to focus on, that's training. If you train your mind to expect easy, you'll panic when life gets hard. But if you train it to expect challenges, to expect discomfort, to expect uncertainty, you'll move through all of it without falling apart. The moment falling apart doesn't mean we're on the wrong path. You don't have to have it all figured out, but you do have to stop waiting. You have to stop thinking your time is tomorrow. It's not. It's now. Every single day you wait is a day your mind gets softer. You either train it or it trains you. You either lead it or it leads you. And an untrained mind will never lead you to a winning life. Start simple, start small. Start with one promise you keep to yourself every morning. One thing that proves to your mind that you're serious about change. It could be waking up without hitting snooze. It could be writing down your plan before the day begins. It could be moving your body when your mind says stay still. The point is not the task, the point is that you're training your mind to follow your lead, not your emotions. Consistency is the key, not perfection. You're not training your mind to never feel fear or pain or confusion. You're training it to act anyway. You're training it to focus when things are messy. You're training it to hold the vision when your reality looks nothing like it. That's what winners do. They don't wait for perfect. They build strong minds in the middle of chaos. And you won't feel motivated every day, that's a fact. But motivation was never the goal. The goal is mental strength. The goal is discipline. The goal is becoming someone who does the work even when no one claps, even when no one sees it, even when the results take longer than expected. You build that kind of mind by deciding that who you become matters more than how you feel. So train your mind to think like someone who wins. Think like someone who refuses to quit. Think like someone who knows that the real battle is inside, not out there. Because once you win in your mind, the rest of life starts to follow. The world won't hand you success, but it will open up to someone who is mentally prepared for it. And that person is not lucky. That person is not chosen. That person is built by choices, by habits, by focus, and by the daily training of the mind. And you can be that person. One choice at a time, one thought at a time, one disciplined action at a time. That's how you train your mind like a millionaire, and that's how you start building the life you actually deserve. Chapter 2. Choose thoughts that push you to improve daily. You don't improve your life by accident. It always starts with one thing, a decision to think differently, and that decision happens quietly, inside your own mind. Nobody sees it, nobody claps for it, but it changes everything. If you want to grow, if you truly want to become better every day, you have to pay attention to what you're thinking about. Most people don't. They live on autopilot. They carry the same thoughts they had yesterday and the day before, and they expect their life to change. It doesn't work like that. If you don't choose your thoughts on purpose, your mind will default to whatever is easiest. And what's easy is often what holds you back. The mind loves repetition. It loves patterns. So whatever you think often becomes the path your brain keeps choosing, even if it hurts you. If you constantly think about how hard life is, how tired you feel, how things never go your way, your brain locks that in. It makes that your standard. It becomes your mindset without you realizing it. And if you're not careful, you'll live in that same pattern for years. That's why it matters what you think about. Every thought either helps you grow or pulls you backward. There is no neutral. When you choose to think in a way that builds your discipline, your courage, your confidence, you build momentum. And momentum turns into change. But when you keep thinking about what's missing, what's wrong, what's unfair, you slow down. You start sinking into habits that keep you stuck. Choosing thoughts that push you forward is not about ignoring reality. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to respond to reality in a way that gives you strength instead of weakness. When something doesn't work, instead of thinking, I failed again, you can think, this is what I learned, now I know what to fix. That one shift in thought is the difference between quitting and continuing. It's the difference between people who grow and people who stay the same. Most people think their mood controls their thoughts, but that's not true. You can feel tired, discouraged, uncertain, and still choose a thought that gives you direction. You can still decide to focus on progress instead of pain. That's power. That's maturity. That's what growth actually looks like. You don't wait to think better, you train yourself to think better. And the training starts the moment you catch yourself drifting. Maybe your mind goes into fear, into comparison, into complaining. That's your signal. That's your chance to interrupt the pattern. You tell yourself, this thought is not helping me. I'm not feeding it anymore. Then you choose one that does help. That practice, done over and over, changes the way your brain works. It doesn't just feel better, it works better. Winners understand this. They take mental ownership seriously. They don't let their thinking run wild. They guide it. They lead it. They choose thoughts that serve the life they want to build, not the one they're trying to escape. They don't spend hours replaying what went wrong. They study it, extract what's useful, and move on. They don't obsess over what other people think. They focus on what they can control. That's not luck. That's a mindset trained by choice. Growth-minded thinking sounds simple, but it takes work. You'll have to fight your old thoughts. You'll have to challenge the voice in your head that says you can't, that says you're behind, that says it's too late. That voice doesn't go away on its own. You have to replace it. You have to speak over it. Every day. Not just when you feel good, but especially when you don't. Some people wait for perfect motivation to start changing how they think. They want to feel strong first. But it doesn't work that way. You don't feel strong until you start thinking stronger. You don't feel confident until you practice thinking confident thoughts. You don't wait for it, you build it. One small decision at a time. One mental shift at a time. You might think, but what if I don't believe the new thought yet? That's normal. You won't believe it at first. That's why it's called training. You repeat the thought not because it's easy, but because it's right. Because it helps you grow. You keep repeating it until it becomes natural, until it becomes your truth. That's how every strong belief is built, through repetition and action. Start with one clear thought that helps you grow. Maybe it's, I am capable of getting better. Maybe it's, I'm not stuck unless I quit. Maybe it's, I don't need to be perfect, just consistent. Find the one that hits home for you. Then repeat it. Every morning, every time you get discouraged, every time you lose momentum. And don't just say it, act on it, show your mind it's real through action. Thoughts lead to emotions, emotions lead to decisions, and decisions shape your life. So if you want to shift your life, start with your thinking. Ask yourself throughout the day, is this thought helping me grow or pulling me down? If it's pulling you down, you don't have to obey it. You're not your thoughts. You're the one who chooses them. And that's where your freedom starts. When your mind is tired, it will want to default to old thinking. So you need structure, you need reminders. Write your growth-based thoughts down. Put them where you can see them. Set a reminder on your phone if you have to. This is not about hype. This is about building a mental environment that makes it easier for you to improve, especially when life gets heavy. You don't have to think perfect thoughts, you just need to keep choosing better ones, ones that focus on solutions, ones that bring you back to action, ones that remind you who you're becoming. When you live in those kinds of thoughts, your life starts to match them. You start moving different. You start speaking different. You start expecting more from yourself. Not out of pressure, but out of purpose. This is what it means to choose thoughts that push you to improve. You stop letting your thinking stay in the past. You stop wasting mental energy on regret, shame, or fear. You start using your thoughts to build your future, not relive your failures. You think on purpose. You speak on purpose. You move with purpose. And over time, it shows. People will notice something different about you, not because you talk louder or act tougher, but because your mind is stable, because you don't get shaken by little things, because your confidence is real, not forced. That comes from the inside. That comes from choosing thoughts that give you strength instead of stress. You'll still have bad days. You'll still face problems, but your mind will be trained to respond differently, and that difference changes everything. You won't panic, you won't fold. You'll pause, breathe, and think clearly. You'll ask better questions, you'll take better actions, and you'll keep growing, even in hard seasons. That's the real goal, to build a mind that doesn't crumble under pressure. To think in a way that builds your future, brick by brick, decision by decision, thought by thought. You don't need more motivation, you need a system for choosing thoughts that lift you. You need awareness, you need commitment, you need honesty with yourself, and you need to stop letting your old story run your new chapter. This is your responsibility. No one else can do it for you. But the good news is, you have everything you need to begin. See, the sun rises, the sun sets. You have everything you need to begin. You have a brain that can be rewired, a voice that can be changed, a pattern that can be broken. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be committed to improving your thinking every single day. So choose thoughts that move you forward. Choose thoughts that make you want to grow. Choose thoughts that wake you up when you feel lost. And keep choosing them until they become who you are. Because once your mind improves, everything else follows. Your decisions get sharper, your habits get stronger, your results get better. That's how you build a better life, one strong thought at a time.
Chapter 3. Practice self-control when your mind gets lazy.
There will always be moments when your mind tries to take the easy route. That's natural. The human mind doesn't automatically push toward discipline. It drifts. It looks for comfort. It searches for shortcuts. Especially when you're tired, stressed, or bored, the mind starts whispering reasons to slow down, to delay, to avoid the hard work. That's the moment when self-control matters most. Not when things are easy, but when your thoughts try to convince you to take the easier option. It's in those moments that winners separate themselves, not because they feel more motivated, not because they enjoy the struggle, but because they practice self-control no matter how they feel. That's the difference. They understand that success is built when nobody's watching, when there's no applause, and when there's every excuse to stop. They recognize the lazy voice in their head and don't listen to it. They act based on standards, not moods. Self-control doesn't come from motivation. It comes from a decision to stay committed. It comes from discipline that's trained over time. When your mind wants to scroll, to complain, to stay in bed, to skip the hard task, that's your signal. That's when you need to step in and take control. Not through force, but through intention. You remind yourself who you are and what you said you'd do. You don't negotiate with laziness. You move forward without giving it power. You don't need to feel strong to act strong. You don't need to feel ready to stay committed. What you need is to build the habit of keeping your word, especially when your mind is searching for a way out. You tell yourself, this is the exact moment that builds my discipline, and then you do the thing you don't want to do. That repetition, done daily, trains your mind to follow your leadership instead of your emotions. Laziness always sounds logical at first. It never shows up shouting quit. It shows up quietly, just 5 more minutes. Do it later. You deserve a break, and sometimes rest is needed. But if you're honest with yourself, most of the time, it's not about rest. It's about avoidance. It's about the mind trying to protect itself from discomfort. And if you keep giving in, you build a weaker version of yourself. You teach your brain that comfort matters more than growth. That's a dangerous lesson to live by. The way to break that pattern is through awareness and action. You notice when your mind starts slipping. You recognize when it begins to drift away from your priority, and instead of following it, you interrupt it. You say no. You redirect your energy back to the task. You stay with the discomfort instead of escaping it. That's the real training. That's the kind of mental strength that builds a winning life. It's not about fighting your mind. It's about leading it. When you feel lazy, you don't attack yourself. You don't beat yourself up. You simply take ownership. You say, I don't need to feel like it. I just need to do it. That mindset keeps you grounded. It gives you power. It turns laziness into an opportunity for growth. Instead of a reason to quit, your mind will try to delay anything that feels hard. That's normal. But what's also true is this. Every time you push past that resistance, you become more powerful. Every time you keep going when it's easier to stop, you become someone who can be trusted, not just by others, but by yourself. That self-trust is priceless, because once you trust your own discipline, you stop needing outside motivation to act. Self-control is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. You'll have off days. You'll slip sometimes. But the key is not staying there. The key is catching yourself, correcting your course, and getting back in control. You don't drown from one lazy moment. You drown when you keep repeating it. So don't wait to feel inspired again. Take action as a way of pulling yourself out. It also helps to keep your environment in check. If you surround yourself with distractions, it becomes easier to justify lazy thinking. If your phone is always nearby, if your space is messy, if your time isn't scheduled, your mind will default to the easiest option. But if you set yourself up for clarity, structure, and focus, you reduce the friction between your goals and your action. And when the friction is lower,
self-control becomes more natural. Another way to build self-control is to challenge yourself daily. Don't wait for struggle to show up. Go out and meet it. Do something every day that requires effort. Something that your mind doesn't want to do. It could be waking up early, finishing a task before the deadline, saying no to junk food, or having a difficult conversation. Whatever it is, the act of doing it strengthens your discipline. It builds the mental muscle that says, I don't fold just because it's uncomfortable. You'll also notice that when you practice self-control in one area, it spreads to others. When you master your morning routine, you think clearer at work. When you eat with discipline, you feel more confident. When you finish your tasks without delay, you sleep better at night. It's all connected, and it all begins with how you handle the moments when your mind wants to take it easy. It's important to remind yourself why you started, why you set the goals in the first place. When your mind gets lazy, it forgets your reasons. It focuses only on what feels good right now. But self-control reminds you that short-term ease often leads to long-term pain, and short-term effort, though hard, leads to long-term freedom. That's a truth worth remembering. When you take control of your thoughts in those lazy moments, you don't just get more done, you become more disciplined. You build a mental standard that doesn't fluctuate with your feelings. You stop relying on willpower and start operating from a deeper commitment. And that's when real change happens. That's when your results catch up with your effort. It's not glamorous, it won't always feel exciting, but it's powerful. Every time you sit down and do the work when your mind says no, you move closer to your potential. Every time you act when it's easier to avoid, you prove to yourself that you're capable of leading your own life. People who achieve great things aren't always smarter. They're more consistent. They don't allow laziness to win the small battles, and because of that, they win the bigger one. They take their mind seriously. They don't hope for strength. They build it. And that mindset isn't reserved for a few. It's available to anyone who's willing to do the work. So the next time your mind wants to quit early, delay a task, or coast through the day, pause, catch it. Don't argue, just act. Do one small thing that moves you forward. One thing that keeps you locked into your goals. That small action is not small. It's everything. It's the signal that your standards are higher than your mood, that your goals matter more than your excuse. You don't need to conquer the whole day, just the next moment, just the next decision. Self-control is not a big dramatic effort. It's a quiet series of choices, made when nobody else is around. It's a standard you live by, even when no one's checking in. That kind of self-leadership is rare, but it's also what creates freedom, success, and inner peace. You'll know you're growing when your default is discipline, not delay. When you naturally choose effort over ease. When you stay focused even when distractions feel tempting. That shift is the reward for every moment you took control. Every time you acted instead of hesitated. Every time you followed through when you wanted to walk away. And remember, this isn't about never feeling lazy. It's about choosing not to live there. Your mind will always try to take the path of least resistance. That's human, but you're more than your automatic impulses. You're the one who decides what wins. And every day is another chance to prove to yourself that you're in charge. That's how you grow. That's how you rise. That's how you become someone who builds a life that lasts. Not with hype, not with luck, but with self-control. When your mind gets lazy, that's where the breakthrough begins, and that's where your transformation gets real.
Chapter 4. Focus only on what helps you grow fast. Every day, you're surrounded by things competing for your attention. Some are urgent, some are entertaining, some are distracting, but only a few actually help you grow. If you want to build a life that's sharp, fast-moving, and filled with progress, you have to focus only on what helps you grow and let go of everything that doesn't. That decision will cost you comfort, but it will give you clarity, and in today's world,
Clarity is power. Most people don't realize how much of their life is wasted on things that don't lead anywhere. They check their phone dozens of times without even noticing. They spend hours watching other people live their lives instead of building their own. They follow conversations that go nowhere. They give energy to opinions that don't matter. Then they wonder why they feel stuck, overwhelmed, or unmotivated. The answer isn't in doing more. The answer is in doing less, but doing what matters with full focus. Growth is not about being busy. It's about being intentional. You have to start questioning where your attention goes. Every single time you give your focus to something, you're investing a piece of your future. The question is, are you investing it in something that gives you a return? Or are you spending it on things that drain you and slow you down? The truth is, your focus decides your future. Not your goals, not your dreams. Your daily focus. Because whatever you focus on grows. If you constantly focus on what's wrong, what's missing, what's unfair, that becomes your reality. But if you learn to focus on what builds your mindset, your skills, your health, your habits, you grow faster than most people ever will. Not because you're lucky, but because you're disciplined about what you pay attention to. Growth requires attention, and attention is limited. You only get so much of it. So you can't afford to waste it. Not if you're serious about change. Not if you're tired of repeating the same patterns. You have to become ruthless about where your mind goes. That doesn't mean you become cold. It means you become clear. You stop chasing everything and start building one thing. When you focus only on what helps you grow, you stop reacting to life and start creating it. You wake up with a plan instead of waking up to notifications. You use your time with purpose instead of just passing time. You protect your mind like it matters, because it does. If you don't, other people will decide how your day goes. And most of the time, they're not thinking about your future. Every minute you spend focused on the wrong thing is a minute you can't get back. That's not pressure, that's just reality. But it can be your advantage if you take it seriously. Because most people are distracted. Most people never question where their attention goes. So if you do, if you actually take control, you already put yourself ahead. You already start building faster. Start with this. Every task, every conversation, every decision, ask yourself, does this help me grow? If the answer is no, be honest. If it drains your energy, if it wastes your time, if it pulls you off course, you need to walk away from it. You don't need to explain, you don't need to defend it. You just need to protect your focus. This kind of discipline doesn't come easy. You'll feel pulled in different directions. You'll feel pressure to keep up with everything and everyone, but pressure is not the problem. The problem is lack of clarity. Once you know what matters, you stop chasing everything else. You stop comparing. You stop trying to do it all. You do what builds you. You do it consistently. And that changes your life faster than any shortcut ever could. You grow fast when you stop waiting for the right move. When you stop giving your focus to distractions just because they're easy. You grow fast when you sit with your goals long enough to understand what's actually required. Most people don't grow because they don't stay with the process long enough. They keep switching. They keep quitting. They keep restarting. That's because their focus is scattered. And a scattered mind can't build anything solid. Make it a rule to give your best energy to the right things early in the day. That's when your mind is sharpest. Don't waste it scrolling. Don't spend it checking other people's lives. Use it to build yours. Write down your goals. Break them into simple steps. Then block time to work on them. Not just think about them, work on them. The more you act, the more you learn. The more you learn, the faster you grow. Don't confuse movement with progress. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're growing. Busyness can become a trap. You can stay occupied all day and still be in the same place next year. Growth comes from focused effort, doing the right things over and over, not just doing more things. So stop trying to impress people with how much you do. Start impressing yourself with how focused you are. This also means saying no. A lot. You'll have to say no to good things in order to say yes to great things. You'll have to disappoint people who want your time for things that don't build you. You'll have to step away from conversations that don't align with your goals. That's the price of growth. But it's worth it, because every no protects your yes. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to your progress. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest. Look at your last week. What did you focus on? What actually helped you grow? What pulled you away from progress? The answers are right in front of you. And once you see them, you can change them. You don't need a new plan. You need a new level of focus. Sometimes the things that help you grow aren't exciting. They're repetitive. They're quiet. They take time. But that's what makes them powerful. Most people look for stimulation. Winners look for structure. Most people want comfort. Builders want progress. If you want to grow fast, you have to stop chasing what feels good now and start chasing what pays off later. Focus is not just about attention. It's about alignment. Are your daily actions aligned with the life you say you want? Are you spending time with people who challenge you to rise? Are you learning things that stretch you? Are you practicing habits that sharpen your skills? If not, something needs to change, because the cost of wasted focus is wasted time, and wasted time is wasted life. Real growth also requires reflection. Take time each week to look at what worked and what didn't. Adjust your focus based on your progress. Don't just set goals, study your behavior. Be honest about where your energy goes. If something keeps pulling you backward, deal with it. Don't ignore it. Don't explain it away. Fix it. Because if you don't, it will keep slowing you down. You deserve a life where you're getting better, faster, stronger, wiser. But that kind of life doesn't just show up. It's built. And focus is the tool that builds it. Not talent. Not luck. Not motivation. Focus. The ability to lock in on what matters and let the rest fade away. You grow fast when your focus becomes sharper than your excuses. When you stop giving in to every impulse. When you stop letting your attention drift to what's easy. When you take your energy seriously. When you make every day count. Not with more activity, but with better focus. Everything you want is on the other side of consistent focus. Not when it's easy. Every day, especially when it's hard, especially when nobody is watching. That's how you grow fast. That's how you change your life, and that's how you move ahead, while others stay stuck. Not because you had more time, but because you gave your time to what mattered most.
Chapter 5. Block every thought that weakens your mindset. The strength of your mindset. The strength of your mindset decides how far you'll go in life. Not just how much you know, not who you know, not what you've been through. It's how you think, especially when life gets tough. And there's one thing that can destroy progress faster than failure: letting weak thoughts control your mind. If you want to build something strong, something that lasts, you have to block every thought that works against your strength. Weak thoughts aren't always obvious. They often sound reasonable. They speak in a quiet voice and show up at the worst time. They whisper things like, "You're not ready, you've tried this before, you're not that type of person."
And if you don't learn to stop those thoughts when they show up, they start shaping the way you live. You begin to doubt your steps. You slow down, you hesitate, you lose energy, not because you can't move forward, but because your thinking convinces you to stay stuck. The problem isn't just the thought, it's the permission you give it. Weak thoughts only have power when you let them stay, when you feed them with attention, when you accept them as truth. That's when they grow. That's when they dig into your decisions. That's when they change your behavior without you even realizing it. Blocking them isn't about pretending you don't hear them. It's about refusing to believe them. It's about training your mind to reject anything that pulls you away from your future. You have to start treating your mind like something worth protecting. Most people protect their phone better than they protect their thoughts. They update their apps, clean their inbox, avoid viruses, but they let damaging thoughts run wild in their mind without question. If something makes you weaker, if it causes you to shrink, to doubt, to fear, why are you giving it space? Why are you letting it stay? You don't owe your time to any thought that doesn't serve your growth. Start catching those thoughts the moment they show up. You'll recognize them because they always slow your momentum. They come with hesitation, anxiety, insecurity. They sound like, what if it doesn't work? What if they judge me? What if I fail again? And if you're not careful, they become the background noise of your day. You start planning your life around fear instead of possibility. You start holding back without even noticing. That's why blocking weak thoughts is not optional. It's essential. The first step is awareness. You can't block what you don't recognize. Pay close attention to how you speak to yourself, especially when things don't go as planned. Are you talking like a leader or like someone who's already given up? Are your thoughts lifting you or lowering your energy? You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest. You can't charm your thinking unless you first admit which thoughts need to go. The second step is replacement. It's not enough to say, don't think that. You have to replace the thought with something stronger. If your mind says this is too hard, you replace it with I've handled hard things before. If it says I'm not ready, you answer with I'll figure it out as I go. The goal is not fake confidence. The goal is building a pattern of thinking that keeps you moving forward, even if it's slow, even if it's uncomfortable. Movement is better than mental paralysis. Blocking weak thoughts also means building a standard for your mental environment. You decide what's allowed and what's not. Just like you wouldn't let a stranger walk into your house and insult you, don't let random thoughts sit in your mind and break your focus. Be firm. Be intentional. If a thought makes you feel small, stop feeding it. If it makes you second-guess your value, challenge it. Your mind listens to you. If you lead it with strength, it will follow. Every strong person you admire had to fight their own thinking. Nobody's born with an unshakable mindset. It's built, it's practiced, it's earned through repetition. The difference is they stopped agreeing with thoughts that made them weaker. They learned to interrupt the pattern. They chose clarity over confusion. They spoke power over fear. Not once, not twice, daily, over and over until it became their new normal. This is not about ignoring challenges. It's about choosing thoughts that make you resourceful in the face of them. You still feel doubt, you still feel stress, but your mindset stays strong because you've trained it to respond with focus instead of panic, with action instead of hesitation. That's what it means to block weak thinking. You don't erase difficulty, you become stronger than. You also have to stop giving your attention to people who speak weakness into your life. If someone constantly makes you question yourself, if their words trigger doubt in your mind, you need to protect your space. You don't need their approval. You don't need their comfort. You need your peace. You need your clarity. You need to be around people who speak belief, not fear, who see your potential, not just your problems. And remember this, your mind repeats whatever you give energy to. If you keep feeding worry, you'll live anxious. If you keep feeding past mistakes, you'll stay stuck. If you keep feeding self-doubt, you'll shrink your goals. But if you feed discipline, if you feed courage, if you feed focus, your mindset will grow sharper. You'll feel stronger. You'll move faster. That's not luck. That's your thinking doing the work for you. You don't block weak thoughts by hoping they go away. You block them with action. Every time you do something hard, your brain gets the message, I can handle this. Every time you speak strength over fear, your brain says, this is who I am now. You don't wait for your mind to change. You train it. You show it through your habits, your decisions, your consistency. You prove to yourself that weakness doesn't get to lead your life anymore. There will still be hard days. You'll still feel resistance. But that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. Growth isn't the absence of struggle. It's the choice to rise above it. Blocking weak thoughts is not about perfection. It's about refusing to settle. Refusing to let your old patterns define your future. Refusing to let fear have the final word. You're not here to stay average. You're not here to live small. You're here to build something better. Something real. And that begins with how you think. Your mind is the engine. If you let weak thoughts run it, don't be surprised when your results stay weak. But if you fuel it with strength, with truth, with purpose, everything starts to shift. The only way to live strong is to think strong. The only way to move forward fast is to remove the thoughts that hold you back. You don't have time to entertain doubt. You don't have space for insecurity. You don't need permission to protect your mindset. If something breaks your focus, shut it down. If a thought slows your progress, cut it off. Not tomorrow, now, and don't wait until your life falls apart to take this seriously. Start now. Start by paying attention. Start by catching the small thoughts that tell you to settle. Start by choosing the next strong response. Then keep going. Keep training. Keep raising your standard. Because every time you block a thought that makes you weaker, you make room for a thought that makes you unstoppable. This is your life. This is your mind. No one can protect it for you. No one else hears what you hear in your head. You have to be the one to step in and say enough. You have to be the one who takes full control, not for a moment, for a lifetime. That's how real power is built. That's how a strong mindset is earned. And that's how you take back control from every thought that tried to make you forget who you are.
Chapter 6. Keep showing up even when you feel tired. There are days when everything feels heavy. Days when your body moves slower, your mind feels cloudy, and the motivation you had yesterday seems completely gone. That's not failure. That's part of being human. But what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck is what they do when that feeling shows up. Do they give in to the weight, or do they show up anyway? The truth is, showing up when you feel tired is one of the most important skills you'll ever develop. It's not flashy, it doesn't feel rewarding in the moment, but it builds something in you that nothing else can. Most people only move when they feel like it. They wait for the perfect energy, the perfect environment. And because that rarely happens, they delay. They make plans they don't follow through on. They start things they never finish, and slowly they lose trust in themselves. Not because they're incapable, but because they haven't trained themselves to act beyond their feelings. They haven't built the habit of showing up, no matter what. You'll never grow fast if you only act on your good days. You'll never get strong if you keep stepping back the moment it gets uncomfortable. Life will keep testing your commitment. Not when it's convenient, but when it's inconvenient. You'll have moments where you're tired, emotionally worn out, mentally drained. That's the real test.
That's where discipline takes over. Not because you feel unstoppable, but because you've decided that showing up matters more than comfort. When you show up tired, you send a powerful message to yourself. You tell your mind, I lead, not my emotions. You prove that your values are stronger than your excuses. That action comes before mood. That progress matters more than perfection. It's not about doing everything perfectly when you feel low. It's about refusing to disappear when it's hard. You keep moving, even if it's slower. You stay consistent, even when it's not exciting. Most people underestimate how much power there is in just being consistent. Not just during bursts of motivation, but in the quiet, ordinary days. The days that don't feel special. The days where nobody's watching. Those are the days that build your reputation with yourself. If you can keep showing up during those moments, you develop a kind of mental strength that's hard to shake. You stop relying on motivation altogether. You replace it with commitment. And commitment means you don't negotiate every time you're tired. You don't stop and ask yourself if you feel like it. You already decided yesterday. You already wrote it down. You already set the standard. So today, you follow through. Whether it's training, working, studying, creating or leading, you don't back down just because it's harder than you expected. You rise to meet the challenge because that's who you've chosen to become. Some people think discipline means pushing yourself to the point of burnout. It doesn't. It means knowing when rest is needed, but not using every dip in energy as a reason to avoid effort. It means distinguishing between real fatigue and mental resistance. Because a lot of the time it's not your body that's tired, it's your mind looking for an excuse. It wants ease, it wants delay. But you're not building a life on ease. You're building it on standards. One of the most powerful habits you can create is this. Do what needs to be done, even when you don't want to, even if you have low energy, even if the results are slow, even if it feels like no one notices. Because every time you do that, you grow. You become a person who keeps promises. And when you build that kind of trust with yourself, your confidence increases in ways no outside praise ever could. You can't depend on being inspired. Inspiration is temporary. It comes and goes. But discipline, that's reliable. That's what shows up when your back hurts, your mind wanders, and your energy dips. That's what holds you together when your emotions are unstable. That's what keeps you locked in when everything else tries to pull you off track. You also have to understand that tired doesn't mean incapable. Just because something feels harder today doesn't mean you've lost your edge. It just means the challenge is real. And real challenges are where growth happens. You don't get sharper in perfect condition. You get sharper when your will is tested, when your choices carry weight, when your focus is needed more than usual. That's what tired days offer. An opportunity to build resilience. Some days the win is just showing up. It's not about crushing every task or hitting a personal best. It's about keeping your promise to yourself. It's about proving that you don't fold every time the feeling fades. That kind of consistency adds up. One disciplined day doesn't change your life, but 100 of them will. And most of them won't feel exciting. They'll feel like work. That's why they're rare. That's why they matter. When you're tired, your mind will try to convince you that today isn't the day, that tomorrow will be better, that waiting is smarter. But growth doesn't wait. Your goals don't pause until you feel ready. Every day you show up tired is a deposit into your future. Every time you follow through without energy, you gain strength. Not the kind of strength that shows on the surface, the kind that makes you unshakable on the inside. Showing up doesn't mean pushing yourself beyond healthy limits. It means honoring your path even when it feels uphill. It means doing one thing that moves you forward, even if it's smaller than usual. It means replacing "I can't" with "I'll do what I can." It's about showing up with honesty, effort, and presence, not perfection. You will be tired. That's part of the process. The goal isn't to avoid it. The goal is to keep moving through it, to not let it decide your actions, to not let it rob you of the momentum you've built. Because here's the truth. Some of your biggest breakthroughs will come on your most exhausted days, the moment when you almost give in, but decide to take one more step. That's where confidence is born. That's where strength becomes real. And once you see the pattern, it gets easier. You'll notice that the act of showing up actually brings energy, that even on days you feel low, taking action clears your mind. That motion creates momentum. That keeping your word to yourself lifts your spirit. You'll stop fearing tired days. You'll start seeing them as an opportunity to practice real discipline. Don't overthink it. Just show up. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for presence. If you said you'd write, then write. If you said you'd train, then train. If you said you'd lead, then lead. Do what you said you would, even if it's slower than yesterday. Even if you're not at your best. That decision matters more than most people realize, because it builds the identity of someone who finishes what they start. That identity is worth more than talent. It's worth more than feeling good. It gives you consistency in a world filled with inconsistency. It gives you an edge that can't be taught. It has to be earned. And you earn it every time you show up when it would be easier to step back. So keep showing up. Not for the applause, not for the recognition. Do it because that's who you are now. Do it because your goals don't care how you feel. They care what you do. And what you do, especially on tired days, shapes your future more than anything else. This is how you get ahead. This is how you stay steady when life gets loud. This is how you build something you're proud of, by showing up when you're tired and proving that your commitment is stronger than your comfort. That's what real growth looks like. That's how leaders are built. That's how champions stay in the game. Not by waiting for perfect energy, not by giving in to excuses, but by moving forward, even when every part of them wants to stop. That's what separates those who wish from those who achieve. And that's the choice you get to make every single day.
Chapter 7. Build mental habits that support your real goals. Every goal you set will either stay an idea or become your reality depending on the habits you create to support it. Not just your routines, but your thinking patterns, the mental habits that run in the background of your day. Most people focus on big actions and overlook the quiet thoughts that shape those actions. But it's those internal habits that make or break the progress. If your thoughts aren't aligned with your goals, you'll always feel like you're fighting yourself. You'll move forward one day and pull yourself back the next. That's why it's not enough to set goals. You need to train your mind to support those goals every single day. Mental habits are the thoughts you repeat without noticing. They're the way you speak to yourself. They're the default reactions when something goes wrong. They're the way you process fear, uncertainty, and discomfort. You can have all the ambition in the world, but if your thinking habits are filled with hesitation, self-doubt, or avoidance, that ambition will stay stuck. You'll have the vision, but not the follow-through. You'll know what to do, but your mindset will get in the way. You need to build thoughts that match the outcomes you want. That means being deliberate about what you practice mentally. Just like going to the gym builds your body, directing your focus builds your mindset, and it starts with becoming aware of the thoughts that don't belong. Thoughts like "this probably won't work," "I've never been that kind of person," "what if I fail again," or "I'll never catch up." These aren't just negative, they're useless. They don't help you improve, and they definitely don't support your goals. Once you start catching those thoughts, you replace them. You choose better ones. Not because it feels good,
but because it's necessary. You don't wait for belief to arrive. You create it through repetition. You start practicing the kind of self-talk that keeps you focused, sharp, and moving. You speak like someone who's serious, not perfect, not arrogant, just committed. You say things like, I'm capable of learning this. I'll find a way to make it work. This is uncomfortable, but I can handle it. That mental tone becomes your foundation. Your mind needs instructions. If you don't give it direction, it will default to old patterns. It will wander. It will find distractions. It will cling to the familiar. That's why you train it to stay locked in. You give it a job. You tell it what the priority is, and then you keep bringing it back when it drifts. You do this every day, not just when life feels exciting. You do it on the hard days, the boring days, the silent days. That's how habits form. Not through inspiration, but through repetition. People with strong mental habits don't waste time on unnecessary drama. They don't spend hours worrying about things they can't change. They don't overthink every move. They trust their process, even when the results take time. They understand that every big goal requires discipline, not just in action, but in thought. So they feed their mind what it needs to stay sharp: books, mentors, clarity, silence. They control the input so they can manage the output. You can't afford to have a goal and a mindset that contradicts it. You can't say you want to build something great while thinking like someone who expects to lose. You can't say you want discipline while telling yourself that you always mess up. You have to line things up. Your mental language needs to support your ambition. That alignment creates flow. It turns resistance into rhythm. It makes your actions feel less forced, because your mind is finally working with you, not against you. Mental habits also involve how you interpret struggle. Do you see difficulty as proof you're not ready? Or do you see it as feedback? Do you collapse when plans fall apart? Or do you adjust and continue? These aren't just personality traits. These are habits you build over time. Every challenge you face is a chance to practice better thinking. You can choose to respond with panic or with patience. You can choose to retreat or to refocus. Those small mental choices become the habits that carry you. You also have to stop romanticizing ease. If your mind believes that progress should feel effortless, then every moment of discomfort will feel like failure. But if your mental habit is to expect resistance, you stop fearing it. You start walking through it. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions and start creating results in real-life conditions, the messy, unpredictable kind. That's what winners do. They don't need everything to be smooth. They need their thinking to be steady. A solid mental habit is reviewing your day, not to criticize yourself, but to understand yourself. What triggered doubt? What broke your focus? What made you hesitate? What helped you gain momentum? This kind of reflection keeps your mind honest. It helps you identify weak patterns and replace them with better ones. And that kind of awareness, practiced daily, leads to faster growth than any shortcut ever could. If your goal is to grow in your career, then build mental habits around discipline, time management and learning. If your goal is physical health, then train your mind to value consistency over comfort. If your goal is emotional resilience, then develop a habit of calming your reactions before they control your choices. Your mind can be shaped for any goal, but only if you decide to shape it. Don't underestimate the power of tiny thoughts. A single shift in thinking can change how you show up. This is hard becomes this is helping me grow. I'm behind becomes I'm learning faster than before. I don't feel ready becomes I'm getting ready by taking action. These adjustments are small but powerful. They flip your mindset from resistance to readiness. And when your thinking starts to shift, everything else follows. You don't need to control every thought that enters your mind, but you must take control of the ones you allow to stay. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Mental habits don't need to be loud to be effective. They need to be intentional. Repeating one strong thought every morning can be more valuable than 10 new strategies you forget by the afternoon, because strong thinking leads to strong behavior, and strong behavior leads to real results. Make it your daily goal to think in a way that supports your next step. Not your final goal, just the next step. Think clearly, think purposefully, think with direction. That's how you begin to build the mental habits that stick. That's how you stop drifting. That's how you build a mind that doesn't break down when things get real. You'll know your habits are working when you start acting faster, doubting less, and staying calm under pressure. You'll notice yourself making sharper choices, speaking with more clarity, handling mistakes with more control. That's the outcome of strong mental patterns. They don't remove the challenge, they prepare you for it. You were never meant to struggle with the same doubts forever. You were meant to grow beyond them. But growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. And the design starts in your mind. Shape your thoughts, and you shape your future. Repeat the right ideas, and you train your mind to support your goals without hesitation. If you want to live better, start thinking better. Start repeating thoughts that guide you, not distract you. Build habits that make you stronger every time you practice them. And do it until your mind becomes your greatest tool, not your biggest obstacle. That's how you build the life you said you wanted. That's how you move forward when others stay stuck. Not by doing everything, but by thinking in a way that makes every action count.
Chapter 8. Push through discomfort to build mental strength fast. Discomfort is not the enemy. It's not something to run from or avoid. It's the exact place where growth begins. If you want to build mental strength fast, you have to stop backing away when things get uncomfortable. The truth is, no real change ever happens inside your comfort zone. That space may feel safe, but nothing new lives there. Staying in what's familiar will keep you stuck, even if you have big dreams. If you want to become stronger, sharper, more focused, and more capable, you need to face discomfort head-on and keep moving forward through it. Discomfort doesn't just show up in the big things, it's in the small daily moments. Waking up earlier than you want, saying no to distractions, starting a task you've been avoiding, having a hard conversation, speaking the truth when it's easier to stay quiet, staying focused when your mind wants to quit. These aren't dramatic situations, but they are the ones that build your inner strength. Every time you do something uncomfortable on purpose, you're training your mind to stop looking for the easy way out. You're telling yourself that growth matters more than comfort. The people who grow fast aren't the ones who wait until life feels easy. They're the ones who act in the middle of discomfort. They don't get mentally stronger because they avoid hard things. They get stronger because they do them anyway. That's how resilience is built. Not by feeling good, but by doing what needs to be done when you feel like stopping. Every time you push through discomfort, your brain learns something. It learns that fear doesn't mean stop. That stress doesn't mean you're broken. That pressure doesn't mean failure. You begin to see those moments as signals, not obstacles. Signals that you're doing something that matters. Signals that you're moving in the right direction. And once you understand that, discomfort becomes useful. You stop seeing it as pain and start seeing it as proof that you're stepping up. It's easy to look around and believe that other people are just naturally strong, but that's not true. No one starts strong. Mental strength is built like anything else, with reps, and the reps are uncomfortable. No shortcut can replace the work.
No hack can replace the effort. If you want to grow fast, you have to stop waiting for things to feel right and start getting used to things feeling tough. The sooner you get comfortable being uncomfortable, the faster you'll move. Discomfort is part of the process. It means you're stretching your limit. It means you're reaching into a part of yourself you haven't used yet. And that's where the new results come from. Not from repeating the same thoughts and routines, but from pushing into new ones that challenge you to grow. You'll want to quit. That's normal. Your brain is wired to protect you. It wants to avoid pain, conserve energy, and stay in familiar routines. That's what it's built to do. But if you listen to that every time it speaks up, you'll never go beyond your current level. You'll stay where it feels safe, but that safety comes at the cost of your potential. You don't need to erase fear or eliminate discomfort. You just need to stop letting them lead. When discomfort shows up, it's a chance to decide who you want to be. Do you pull back, or do you lean in? Do you slow down, or do you keep going? Every one of those moments adds up. They either build you or break you. And if you keep choosing growth, even in small ways, your mindset gets stronger without you realizing it. You start trusting yourself more. You start doing things without hesitation. That's not magic. That's training. There's no perfect time to start doing hard things. You just start. You pick something that makes you uncomfortable, and you do it anyway. Maybe it's waking up without snoozing. Maybe it's starting the project you've been avoiding. Maybe it's being honest about what's holding you back. Whatever it is, face it. Take a breath and take action. That moment matters more than any motivational quote or video. That moment builds your core. If you wait for motivation, you'll stay stuck. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings change. But discipline, that's something you choose, and you strengthen that discipline every time you push through a situation that makes you want to stop. It's not about being extreme. It's about being consistent. It's about choosing growth over ease, again and again, until it becomes your way of life. Discomfort won't last forever, but the benefits you gain from it will. When you keep showing up during hard times, you build endurance. You learn how to stay focused when most people would give up. That ability becomes a competitive advantage. It sets you apart because while others are looking for ways to avoid pressure, you've trained yourself to move through it. You also become less reactive when you're used to doing hard things. Small challenges don't shake you as much. You stay calm. You respond with clarity. You don't spiral into panic. You've taught your mind that struggle is just part of the journey, not a sign to give up. That calmness under pressure makes you powerful, not in a loud way, but in a steady, unshakable way. Mental strength doesn't make life easier. It makes you better at handling it, and that changes everything. You stop wasting time on fear. You stop second-guessing your every move. You start acting with purpose, with confidence, with commitment. That version of you isn't born from comfort. It's built in the uncomfortable moments you didn't run from. You don't need to do everything at once. Start with one area of your life. Pick one thing that you've been avoiding, one thing that makes you uneasy, and face it. Show yourself that you can handle it. You don't need to win the whole battle today. You just need to show up and take the next step, even if it's uncomfortable. Your future depends on how often you're willing to lean into resistance. You don't get stronger by thinking about it. You get stronger by showing up and doing the work even when it doesn't feel good, even when no one sees it, even when progress is slow. That's the kind of effort that separates the serious from the casual. If you want to rise fast, stop chasing comfort. Start chasing challenges. Start building your ability to do what needs to be done, not just what feels good. That's where the real growth happens, not in perfect conditions, but in real-life pressure. When you push through that pressure, your mind adapts. You become harder to break. You stop quitting early. You start finishing what you start. And over time, what used to scare you becomes normal. What used to drain you becomes manageable. You start seeing challenges not as threats, but as chances to sharpen your edge. You build momentum, you build belief, you build an identity that says, I don't run from discomfort, I use it. That's the shift, that's the mindset. And once it's in place, nothing can stop you, because it's not about being the smartest or most talented. It's about being the one who keeps moving when it gets hard, the one who keeps showing up when comfort calls your name, the one who sees discomfort and steps toward it instead of away. That decision, to keep pushing when you feel resistance, is the beginning of real transformation. It's how you grow faster than you thought possible. It's how you build the mental strength that carries you through any season, not with shortcuts, not with hype, but with quiet, consistent action through discomfort. That's how you win. That's how you rise. That's how you become someone who doesn't just talk about growth, but lives it.
Chapter 9. Direct your energy toward actions, not overthinking. Thinking is useful, but too much thinking becomes a trap. If you're always in your head, running through endless possibilities, playing out worst-case scenarios, trying to make every step perfect before you begin, you won't move, and no progress comes from sitting still. You can't think your way into a better life. You have to act. You have to take steps, and those steps won't always be perfect, but they will teach you more than overthinking ever could. Real growth begins when you stop spinning thoughts and start taking action. People get stuck, not because they don't know what to do, but because they spend too much time analyzing every decision. They want certainty. They want control. They want a guarantee before they make a move. But life doesn't work like that. There is no perfect timing. There's no flawless plan. There's just action or delay. And delay disguised as overthinking feels safe. But it wastes your time, your energy, and your momentum. Every time you hesitate, every time you overanalyze, you drain energy that could be used to build. That energy could have gone into starting something small. Instead, it's eaten up by mental loops that keep you stuck in the same place. You go in circles, repeating the same thoughts, questioning the same decisions, fearing the same outcomes. It feels like effort, but it's not movement, it's noise. And if you don't cut through that noise, you'll live in it. Directing your energy toward action means you stop waiting for the perfect mood. You stop telling yourself you need more time to think. You start where you are. You use what you know. You take one clear step, no matter how small. That step might not solve everything, but it builds something. It gives you real feedback. And that feedback gives you the clarity that overthinking never could. Most people want to feel ready before they act, but action creates readiness. You gain confidence by doing, not by thinking. You learn through experience, not by sitting in indecision. And the more you act, the clearer things become. You stop guessing what will work and start finding out. You stop fearing failure and start collecting lessons. That's how you grow, through movement, not mental pressure. You don't have to figure everything out before you begin. You just need to know what the next step is. One action, one task, one phone call, one message, one plan written down. That's how change starts. Not with a perfect blueprint, but with a decision to stop thinking about it and actually begin. When you take action, even if it's messy, you gain momentum. You start trusting yourself more. You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop replaying the same thoughts over and over because now you have evidence. You've moved. You've acted. You've started. And that puts you ahead of most people who are still overthinking the first move. Overthinking often shows up as fear, pretending to be preparation. It sounds like, what if this doesn't work? Or maybe I should wait until I'm more ready. But if you're honest, you know the truth. You're not preparing. You're stalling. You're protecting yourself from discomfort. But in doing that, you're also protecting yourself from growth, because nothing meaningful happens without risk, without movement, without stepping into the unknown. You don't need to be fearless to act. You just need to stop feeding the fear with more thoughts.
Starve it by moving forward. Take the smallest possible action and watch your fear shrink. Fear grows in silence. It grows when you sit still, but once you act, it has less power. Because now you're not just thinking, you're creating. Redirect your energy by asking better questions. Instead of what if this goes wrong, ask what will I learn if I try this. Instead of what if I fail, ask what's the cost of not trying. These questions shift your focus from fear to possibility. And when your mind is focused on possibility, it becomes easier to act. You only have so much mental energy each day. If you spend it all on overthinking, you'll have nothing left for action. But if you discipline your mind to act first and adjust later, you'll create results while others are still doubting themselves. And those results, even the small ones, will give you the confidence to keep going. Action doesn't always feel exciting. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's boring. Sometimes it's slower than you'd like, but it builds something in you that overthinking never will. It builds clarity. It builds courage. It builds a habit of doing the hard thing instead of just thinking about it. You can't build anything without action. You can't get fit by thinking about workouts. You can't grow a business by imagining success. You can't become a better communicator by reading about it. You have to do. You have to apply. You have to practice. That's how you improve. That's how you gain speed. That's how you make real change. Directing your energy toward action also means being okay with discomfort. You won't always feel ready. You won't always feel sure. But if you act anyway, you grow. You build a stronger relationship with yourself. You stop needing perfect conditions because you trust your ability to move through imperfect ones. That trust is priceless, and you only build it through experience. Stop letting your mind run ahead of your body. Bring your focus back to the task in front of you. Do it fully. Do it honestly. Then move to the next. That's how big results are created. By stacking small actions over time. Not by sitting still and thinking harder. Not by making endless lists. You never start, but by doing. When you feel yourself getting stuck in your head, pause. Don't try to solve everything in your mind. Shift your focus. Stand up. Take a step. Make a call. Write the idea down. Send the message. Clean the space. Start the project. Make the decision. The action doesn't have to be big. It just needs to break the mental loop. And once it does, you'll feel lighter, clearer, stronger. You can't outthink your way into progress. You have to live your way into it. Through steps, through risks, through honest effort. You'll make mistakes. That's part of it. But mistakes made from action teach you more than perfect plans never started. Every move teaches you something. Every try builds your capacity. Every finished task brings you closer to the life you want. Overthinking keeps you tied to the past. It keeps you replaying moments that already happened, or trying to control outcomes that haven't happened yet. But action keeps you in the present. It gives you power in the moment, and power in the moment is what moves your life forward. There's nothing wrong with thinking, but you have to give it a job. Don't just let it spin endlessly. Use it to solve a problem. Then move. Use it to create a plan. Then execute. Use it to reflect, not regret. Thinking is a tool, but if it becomes a habit without action, it becomes a burden. If you want to move forward, stop trying to feel certain. Start committing to action. Start trusting that you'll figure things out along the way. Start believing that doing the wrong thing is better than doing nothing at all. You can adjust, you can adapt, but you can't build a life while you sit in fear. Train yourself to move faster than your doubts, to act before your fears talk you out of it, to step forward even if your heart races. That's not reckless. That's growth. That's leadership. That's how change begins. Not with more thinking, but with more doing. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You need a decision. One clear move in the direction of your goals, then another, then another. Stack enough of those, and you'll look back one day and realize you built something real, not because you had all the answers, but because you chose action over overthinking, and that one decision changed everything.
Chapter 10. Remind yourself daily that you are in charge. Every single day, life gives you a choice. You can take control of your direction, or you can let the day control you. You can wake up and decide how you want to think, how you want to act, how you want to live, or you can give that power away to distractions, to stress, to other people, or to your own excuses. The truth is, whether you like it or not, you are in charge of your life. You are in charge of how you respond, what you focus on, what you believe, and what you build. But if you don't remind yourself of that daily, you'll slowly forget it. And when you forget it, you start drifting. Drifting happens when you stop choosing, when you stop leading yourself, when you stop standing up and taking ownership. And it doesn't always feel dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. You start letting small habits slide. You let negative thoughts stay longer than they should. You start blaming circumstances more often, and before you know it, your days are no longer directed by your values. They're driven by emotion, distraction, and reaction. That's what happens when you forget that you are in charge. You don't need a loud reminder, you need a consistent one, a quiet but firm voice inside you that says, I decide how I show up. Not your past, not your mood, not your doubts. You decide if today is a step forward or just another repeat of yesterday. You decide if you're going to lead with discipline or fall back into distraction. And that choice doesn't happen once. It happens every day. That's why the reminder must be daily. Without it, the world will choose for you. There will be days when everything feels out of your hands. You'll face things you didn't expect. You'll get news you didn't want. You'll be hit with stress, change, uncertainty. That's life. But even in those moments, you still control one thing, your response. You still control what you focus on, what you say to yourself, and what your next move is. That's what being in charge means. It doesn't mean controlling everything around you. It means controlling yourself, no matter what's around you. You'll always have two voices in your head. One wants comfort, and the other wants progress. One tells you to stay where you are, and the other challenges you to rise. Most people listen to the first one. They believe it when it says, take it easy, or you've done enough, or maybe this just isn't for you. But the people who build something real, the ones who grow fast, who move strong, who make a difference, they choose to listen to the second voice, and they have to remind themselves to listen to it every single day. You won't always feel powerful. Some mornings you'll wake up tired, overwhelmed, maybe even discouraged. But that's when this reminder matters most. That's when you tell yourself, I don't need to feel ready. I just need to take control. You don't have to feel strong to act strong. You don't have to have full energy to move with purpose. You just have to remember who's in charge and then act like it. Responsibility is not a burden. It's a power. When you claim it, you stop waiting. You stop blaming. You stop hoping someone else fixes your situation. You realize that change starts with the choices you make today. And that mindset, practiced daily, makes you unstoppable. Not because things get easier, but because you stop letting difficulty decide your future. It's easy to look at other people and think they've got something you don't. That maybe they're wired differently. Maybe they're more confident, more talented, more supported. But often, the only difference is this: they remind themselves that they're responsible for what happens next. They don't leave it to chance. They don't leave it to other people. They wake up, look at the day ahead, and say, let's build something, even when they're unsure, even when things are unclear. That kind of inner leadership is available to you too. You don't need permission to take control.
You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need more time or better tools. You need to remember that your life answers to you. And if something needs to change, that change begins with your decision to lead it. No one is going to show up and do it for you. No one's going to push you forever. At some point you have to stand up and say, "This is on me," and not in a harsh way, in an empowering way. When you remind yourself that you're in charge, you stop trying to please everyone. You stop chasing approval. You stop making choices based on fear. You start acting from a place of purpose. You start saying no to things that don't serve you. You start saying yes to the things that matter, even if they're hard. You begin to own your time, your energy, and your direction. It won't be perfect. You'll mess up. You'll fall off track. You'll have days where you forget. But that's why it's a daily reminder. Every day is a reset. Every morning is a fresh opportunity to take the wheel again. Don't wait for the week to go right. Don't wait for the week to go right. Don't wait for next month. Don't wait until you feel motivated. Wake up and claim your role. Remind yourself that no matter how yesterday went, today is yours to lead. This is not about control in a rigid way. It's not about micromanaging every moment. It's about knowing that you have the power to choose how you respond, how you think, and how you move forward. That power, when used daily, makes you more focused, more confident, and more consistent. It helps you build a version of yourself that doesn't crumble under pressure. A version that doesn't look for the exit every time things get hard. The way you speak to yourself matters. That's why this reminder needs to be part of your routine. Whether it's written on a note, spoken aloud, or repeated in silence, it has to stay in front of you. I'm in charge. Simple, clear, direct. And when life tries to pull you off course, when your old habits try to sneak back in, when doubt starts getting louder, you return to that statement. You breathe and you lead. You'll notice a shift when this becomes a habit. You'll stop looking at problems as proof you can't do it. You'll start seeing them as challenges you get to overcome. You'll stop waiting for something to change, and you'll start being the one who changes it. You won't need to force confidence. It will come naturally, because you're living from choice, not from reaction. This mindset affects every area of your life. In your work, it pushes you to show up with purpose. In your relationships, it helps you take responsibility for your role. In your health, it reminds you that every meal, every workout, every rest day is a decision that moves you. In your mindset, it teaches you to lead your thoughts instead of following them. You're not going to feel powerful every single day. That's not the point. The point is that you don't hand your power over just because the day is heavy. You don't let frustration, fatigue, or fear hold the keys to your life. You hold them. And even when your grip is shaky, you don't let go. That's leadership. That's ownership. That's how strong people are built. Every win you've ever had started with a moment like this. A moment where you could have backed down, but you didn't. A moment where you could have blamed the situation, but you took action. A moment where you could have played small, but you stepped up. Those moments don't always feel big at the time, but they build something in you that grows bigger than the challenge itself. So when you wake up tomorrow, don't just dive into the day. Take a moment, center yourself, and remind yourself of this truth. You're in charge. This life is yours to lead. And no matter what's in front of you, you've got what it takes to face it, direct it, and shape it. Not by force, but by decision. By steady, focused action. One day at a time. One choice at a time. One clear reminder at the start of each day. You are in charge, and when you live like that, you don't just survive life, you build it, you shape it, you lead it, fully, boldly, and on your terms.